Chapter 1. Apparently I'm the villain, but I don't approve the script. I woke to fire and the kind of crows that know when a story is exhausted. Someone had given me a very theatrical death. Throat torn, blood scenic, soundtrack predetermined. Instead of the expected oblivion, I blinked and sat up. The battlefield smelled of smoke and bad metaphors. Prince Carson Vale intoned a voice built for elegies. "You have died. Save it," I said. The voice came out in Carson's chest, which is to say, unfamiliar and melodramatic. The wound in my side was wonderfully appointed for tragedy but poorly tailored for practicality. Bards took notes. A banner snapped on cue. Extras mouthed their grief in pre-programmed intervals. I slid to my knees, palming a locket that looked suspiciously like cover art accessories. No, not today. Not on someone else's timeline. I told the sky. A man stepped forward, halo uneven, sword still wet with narrative guilt. Aaron Salas, the hero who'd ended me in Chapter 29 and in the deluxe epilogue. He looked exactly like a man assigned to feel very sorry. "You object to destiny?" he asked, annoyingly calm. "Objection sustained," I said. If there were a judge up there, I demanded a hearing. If not, I'd make one. I had two tools: a law student's instinct to litigate and a villain's access to melodramatic props. I lunged and grabbed Aaron by the collar. The crowd blinked. The bard halted mid-lyric. Two guards reached for us. I shoved Aaron behind a shattered siege tower because dramatic kidnappings require theatrical cover. "You killed me. I woke up in my own funeral. Someone rewrote the ending. I'm filing a complaint." He made a sound between amusement and pity. "Against the gods? Emotional, narrative, existential damages. And a refund, if possible." I loved how absurd demands felt almost reasonable in a strange body. "Do you even know how one sues a deity?" he asked. "I have textbooks and a stubborn streak that survived caffeine poisoning. Also, I can threaten a class action. They call it fate. We call it a defective product," I said. Aaron blinked like a reader discovering an uncredited footnote. Up close, his face was less heroic armor and more complicated punctuation. Eyebrows that argued with their own conscience. "You'll get us both in trouble," he warned. "Then the complaint will name everyone relevant. Gods, authors, narrators, and overzealous plot devices." He looked at me a long time, measuring. For a heartbeat, he looked human in a way the book had never permitted. "Very well, file your complaint," he said finally. I had no idea how to sue a deity. That has never stopped me. Also, I added as an afterthought because habit outlives plotlines, "Don't try to stab me while I draft the summons." He let himself smile, small, reluctant, private. "I cannot promise anything." I hauled him further into the wreckage because proximity is leverage and because I liked the way his armor clinked when he exhaled. "You're basically my only eyewitness," I said, which sounded like an admission and a threat. He scowled, which suited him poorly. "Witnesses can be compelled," I added, thinking of subpoenas and sleep-deprived moot court nights. He narrowed his eyes. "You are impossible." "Good to know. I prefer impossible to inevitable." I straightened the locket like a badge. "Court convenes when I say so," I told the sky, which remained predictably silent. Chapter 2. Kidnapping the hero accidentally. When I said kidnap, I meant detain pending divine investigation. Unfortunately, that distinction didn't make the hero less smug about it. Aaron Salas sat against a broken pillar, wrists loosely bound with a length of banner I'd torn from the ashes. The royal crest glared up at me like even the fabric was disappointed. His sword lay beside him, untouched. His expression, serenity with malicious undertones. "You know, this hardly qualifies as a hostage situation when I'm not resisting," he said mildly. "Give it time, I'm new at villainy. Maybe there's a training arc," I said, pacing the perimeter of our ruin-chic hideout. He tilted his head. "You sound rather confident for a man who died 30 minutes ago." "Confidence is free. Resurrection was the expensive part." I crouched in front of him. Up close, his calm was unbearable. like being lectured by someone who'd already read your defense brief and marked it up in red ink. I just need information. Who writes these fates? Who approved this tragedy? And how do I file an appeal? I said. Aaron's lips twitched. You assume there's a process. There's always a process. Bureaucracy is the one true God. He actually laughed, quietly, like it hurt his heroic branding. You wouldn't understand. Try me. Law degree pending. Soul recently repossessed. Very open to cross-examination. I said. He studied me for a long time, as if weighing cosmic confidentiality agreements. Finally, he said, Fine. I'm half divine, a caseworker for narrative enforcement. My job was to keep this world's story stable. So you're middle management for destiny. If you like, he said. Except now, my connection to the celestial archive is fading. My memories. He stopped, eyes distant. Some have been altered. I leaned forward. Edited. He nodded. As if someone rewrote my past missions. Faces missing. Names blanked out. That's convenient. Every witness says the same. I don't recall, Your Honor. I muttered. I'm not lying. I didn't say you were. I said you were inconveniently credible. A dry wind swept through the ruins, scattering ash and moral ambiguity. I sat back thinking. If Aaron's divine Wi-Fi was glitching, maybe the whole system had bugs. Maybe I wasn't an accident. Maybe this world was breaking its own script. He broke the silence. If I help you find the gods, you help me recover what's missing. Partnership? You, the shiny hero, teaming up with the villain who once stabbed your narrative arc. I asked. I prefer temporary co-counsel. I snorted. Fine. But if you try to betray me, I'll warn you first, professional courtesy, he said. Before I could decide whether to be impressed or offended, a familiar chime echoed in my skull. Cheerful, bureaucratic, and deeply unwelcome. Ding! A glowing text box flickered into the air, pixelating reality like a bad video conference. System 44. New quest registered. Mode. Co-op 1/2 activated. Objective. Locate the celestial archive. Penalty for refusal. Narrative collapse. Probable death. Mild paperwork. Aaron blinked up at it. You hear that too? Yes, congratulations. We're officially in multiplayer hell. I said. System 44. Please confirm partnership. Aaron's eyes met mine. Calm. Amused. Dangerous. I sighed. Fine. Yes. The system made a sound like confetti dying. System 44. Partnership confirmed. Romance probability 0.7%. Updating dynamically. Excuse me, I said. Aaron's mouth twitched. Seems your system enjoys statistics. It's malfunctioning. Delete that line. I said quickly. System 44. Error. Data persistent. I threw a rock at the nearest wall. The message vanished smugly. Aaron stood, brushing dust off his armor. We should move. If the system's aware of us, others will be too. Others as in gods? Others as in auditors. Perfect. Nothing says adventure like divine tax season. I muttered. We scavenged supplies. A cracked sword for me, a half-burned map, one miraculous bottle of wine. The road stretched west, black with soot and storytelling residue. Every step echoed like a reminder that I'd broken something important. He walked ahead, straight-backed and maddeningly composed. I trailed behind, composing mental lawsuits. Stop staring, he said without turning. I'm evaluating my co-defendant, I said. He glanced over his shoulder, sunlight catching the faint mark on his neck. A glowing sigil half-faded. And I rate you a high-risk investment. He smiled slightly. Likewise. We walked until the horizon melted into evening. The system pinged occasionally with updates like, route adjusted. Probability of disaster 87%. I ignored it. Aaron didn't even blink. When we finally made camp near a dead river, he sat across from me, the firelight turning his armor gold and his expression unreadable. I still don't trust you, I said. You don't need to. You only need to keep walking. I poked the fire. And if I don't? Then the story ends here. For a moment, the silence stretched, taut, uneasy, almost intimate. Then the system chimed again, soft and smug. System 44. Tutorial complete. Main quest unlocked. Good luck, idiots. I glared at the empty air. It called us idiots. Aaron smirked. Accurate. I tossed a pebble into the flames and watched it crack. Fine. Let's go find whoever's running this circus, I said. He raised a brow. For justice. For refunds and maybe revenge. I corrected. He nodded once. Co-counsel accepted. The night closed in around us. 2 idiots, 1 defective system, and a pending lawsuit against the divine. Chapter 3. Journey of 2 idiots and 1 broken contract. The next morning started with ash in the air and Aaron walking like someone who'd been born knowing what direction west was. I followed, mostly because my sense of direction came factory defective. War-torn kingdoms are not nearly as poetic as they sound. There's smoke, silence, and the occasional corpse that looks like it wants to file a complaint too. So, is this what divine order looks like? I said, stepping over a shattered helm. Aaron didn't slow. You're the one who broke it. Correction. I interrupted a badly written tragedy. There's a difference, I said. Tragedy is the point of balance. Balance can bite me. He gave a small exhale that might have been a laugh if his halo hadn't been on life support. We walked through fields where the grass had given up. The system occasionally pinged, mostly to inform us that narrative stability remains compromised. Translation, we're in the filler arc. I muttered. By noon, I was starving and cranky enough to sue the gods for negligence of basic hospitality. Aaron stopped by a riverbed and knelt to refill his canteen. His reflection wavered. Eyes too bright, expression too careful. Half divine and half problem. You look like a walking sermon. Does the glow come with warranty coverage? I asked. He ignored that. We'll rest soon. There's a town 2 leagues ahead. Spoiler, there wasn't. There was, however, a small group of bandits who clearly hadn't read the memo about me being done with destiny. They surrounded us fast, leather armor, makeshift blades, the usual post-war decor. Their leader grinned, showing teeth like budget pearls. Well, a priest and a prince. Both look like they'd fetch good ransom. He said. I gestured to Aaron. He's the rich one. I'm just his disgruntled intern. Aaron gave me a look. You're not helping. I'm improvising. The bandits lunged. I waited for divine smiting, or at least some shiny swordplay. Instead, Aaron blocked 1 hit and promptly got knocked flat by another. You've got to be kidding me? Aren't you supposed to glow harder? I said, ducking an incoming strike. Limited connection, no access to holy reserves. He said. So basically, you're on airplane mode. I grabbed a fallen spear, spun, and smacked 1 bandit square in the chest. Another came from behind. I kicked him in the shin and threw my dagger without thinking. It landed in the man's sleeve. Pure luck. When the dust cleared, the survivors ran. I stood there panting, victorious but unimpressed. Aaron sat on the ground, sword across his knees. I could have handled that. You handled the ground beautifully. Top-tier performance, I said. He wiped blood from his lip, gaze steady. You're reckless. And you're useless without your divine Wi-Fi. Congratulations. We balance each other. He gave me that look again, the one halfway between exasperation and something warmer. Dangerous territory. We kept moving until dusk bled into the horizon. I found us a clearing and a bottle of divine wine in the ruins of an abandoned chapel. The label promised clarity and transcendence. It delivered neither. I built a fire while Aaron examined his cracked blade. The silence between us stretched thin. So, what's it like being half a god? I asked, pouring the wine into mismatched cups. He shrugged. Lonely. Bureaucratic. Sounds like law school. He actually laughed this time, short, unguarded. It made something in my chest feel off balance. We drank. It burned in a holy way, like guilt with good aftertaste. The stars above looked fake, like someone copy-pasted a sky texture and forgot to adjust saturation. I leaned back against a log headlight. If you weren't divine, you'd be kind of tolerable. I said, that's almost a compliment, he murmured. Don't get used to it. He sat across the fire, the light flickering against his face. Too beautiful, too composed, too everything I wasn't supposed to like. The system pinged faintly. System 44. Emotional resonance detected. Adjusting probability 7.3%. Shut up, I muttered at the air. Aaron raised an eyebrow. What? Nothing. Cosmic nonsense. He smiled, slow and infuriating. You're blushing. It's the wine. Or gravity, he said, as if that explained everything. I wanted to argue, but the world tilted, not drunk, just weightless. For one ridiculous heartbeat, he leaned closer. The fire cracked, painting him gold. My heart tripped over itself like an idiot. We were inches apart. His breath touched my cheek. My brain, unhelpful as ever, whispered, don't you dare make this romantic. Then he said softly, you should sleep. I blinked, realizing I'd been holding my breath. Right? Yes. Sleep. Excellent legal strategy. He stood, turning away, the moment dissolving like mist. The system pinged again. System 44. Near event flagged. Romance progress pending review. I threw a stick at the empty air. Pending denial. He chuckled from where he stood, quiet but genuine. Good night, Lin Chi. Good night, hero, I said. And the word didn't taste bitter anymore, just complicated. The fire dimmed. The stars blinked. I lay there staring upward, wondering how a story that was supposed to end in blood now felt like it was just getting started. Somewhere in the distance, thunder rolled, or maybe it was divine laughter. Either way, I promised the heavens one thing before drifting off. Next time fate tried to write me a tragedy, I'd sue for emotional damages again. Chapter 4. Haunted Fortress and the First Betrayal. The fortress appeared at sunset like a bad memory that hadn't learned boundaries. Stone towers cracked open to the wind, banners rotted to rags, the air thick with the smell of iron and unfinished business. This was yours, Aaron said quietly. Technically, it belonged to the kingdom. I just borrowed it until destiny repossessed everything. I replied. We stood on the edge of the ruins, looking down at what used to be my home base, and, according to history, my crime scene. The system pinged, far too cheerfully. System 44. Optional quest detected. Closure and consequences. Estimated difficulty. Emotional nightmare. I sighed. Perfect. Just what I ordered. Aaron didn't smile. You don't have to go in. I do. Otherwise the ghosts will file their complaints without me, I said. He followed me through the shattered gates. Dust rose around our steps, curling like breath. Every corner felt like it remembered something. Blood, oaths, betrayal. A broken sword lay across the floor where my commander had fallen. I remembered his name now. I wished I didn't. You left them, a voice whispered. I froze. Aaron tensed beside me, hand on his blade. Show yourself, he said. The air shimmered. Shapes formed, half light, half memory. Soldiers in tattered armor, eyes hollow with the kind of rage that doesn't fade with death. My soldiers. You promised victory, you fled when we burned. One said. I died. There's a difference, I said. You abandoned us. Their words hit harder than any blade. I'd been ready for accusation. I wasn't ready for the sound of it. I began, but they advanced, swords gleaming with ghost light. Aaron stepped in front of me before I could blink, shield raised. Back, he commanded, voice carrying that divine authority I'd mocked days ago. He's not your enemy anymore. They're not wrong, I muttered. Be quiet, he snapped, not cold but fierce. The ghosts lunged. Aaron met them like a storm, his sword flaring with light that shouldn't have existed given his limited connection. I stumbled back, watching him fight. Precise, relentless, terrifyingly beautiful. One of the ghosts broke past him and came for me, Instinct screamed louder than reason. I raised my stolen dagger. It passed through the ghost like smoke. The air turned to frost. Pain lanced through my chest. Memory, not wound. The field where they died. The order I'd given. I tried to save you, I whispered. But the ghost didn't care. Aaron was there suddenly, grabbing my arm, pulling me behind him. Lin Chi. He swung again. The light burst outward, searing the air. The ghosts dissolved into fragments, their voices fading into silence. I didn't realize I was shaking until the sword dropped from his hand and he caught me by the shoulders. Breathe, it's over, he said. No, it's history. It never ends. I said, voice cracking. He pulled me closer, grounding me. His hand was warm even through his gloves. I wanted to shove him away and also never move again. The system, ever tactless, chimed softly. System 44. Emotional overload detected, suggesting physical contact for stabilization. Shut up, I hissed at the sky. Aaron looked confused. What? Nothing, I said quickly, then immediately contradicted myself by leaning into him. My head hit his shoulder. Just give me a minute. He didn't speak. He just stood there, one hand steady at my back, like silence could hold things together better than words. When I finally stepped back, the world tilted. My knees gave out. Aaron caught me before gravity could make a fool of me. Lin Chi. I'm fine, I lied. My voice didn't agree. He frowned. You're pale. I'm role-playing guilt. It's immersive. He didn't laugh. His hand cupped my cheek, thumb brushing the dirt from my skin. The warmth of it short-circuited my brain. Then, because the universe has no sense of timing, our faces were suddenly close. Too close. His breath hit my mouth. I froze. He didn't move away. The space between us cracked like the fortress walls. And then, a collision more than a kiss. Desperate, clumsy, full of leftover adrenaline and every bad idea I'd ever had. He tasted like ash and divine wine. I didn't breathe until it was over, which lasted about 3 eternal seconds. We pulled apart at the same time, both startled, both pretending it hadn't happened. That was, I started. A mistake, he said quickly. Right? Exactly. A very scientifically inevitable mistake. The system, delighted, chimed in again. System 44. New flag registered. First contact event. Probability updated. 19.4%. I threw a rock at nothing. Delete the record. Aaron turned away, jaw tight. We should keep moving. Sure. Just let me file this under catastrophic lapses in professional boundaries, I said. He didn't answer. As we left the fortress behind, I looked back once. The ghosts were gone. The air was still, but the silence felt heavier than before, like the world was holding its breath, waiting for me to break something else. I tightened my grip on the locket and muttered, one kiss doesn't change the case. The wind didn't argue, but I swear I heard it laugh. Chapter 5. Wanted. Dead, alive, or mildly inconvenienced. 3 days after the fortress incident. The incident being a ghost attack, a nervous breakdown, and a statistically regrettable kiss. The universe decided things weren't chaotic enough. Wanted posters. Everywhere. They fluttered on every wall from the border towns to the smallest hamlet. Ink still drying. My face looked particularly villainous. Like someone told the artist, make him look guilty but fashionable. Prince Carson Vale, traitor, usurper, possible necromancer. Wow, they really captured my essence. I read aloud. Aaron, of course, got a smaller poster. Hero Aaron Salas. Missing, presumed compromised. Compromised. That's one way to say, ran off with the villain, I said. He gave me that look. Patient, judgmental, slightly amused. You realize both kingdoms are hunting us now? Technically, that's just efficiency. Efficiency or not, it meant we spent the next 48 hours sprinting through forests, dodging bounty hunters, and arguing over whose fault the latest ambush was. It's yours, I said after our third narrow escape. I wasn't the one who shouted surprise litigation before stabbing a soldier. he replied. It was a distraction tactic. It was a confession. Somewhere between exhaustion and sarcasm, I tripped over a root and fell into a stream. He hauled me out by the collar, water dripping down my sleeves. Still think this is efficient? He asked. I think your rescue technique is overly intimate. He smiled faintly. You didn't complain last time. I glared. That was CPR. Was it? I decided silence was safer than homicide. By dusk, we reached a border town that looked suspiciously like a budget set from the original novel. Cobblestones, lanterns, the faint smell of plot convenience. We needed disguises. Aaron suggested humility robes. I suggested crime chic. We compromised. Cloaks, dye, and me pretending to be his spouse. I hate this plan, I said. You suggested it, he reminded me. Yes, but I didn't think you'd agree so fast. The innkeeper barely looked up when we entered, though her eyes lingered on Aaron longer than necessary. 1 room or 2? She asked. 1, we're newlyweds, Aaron said smoothly before I could object. I choked on my own existence. Excuse me? He handed her gold. Privacy preferred. She beamed. Congratulations, my lord Anne. Lady, he finished. I coughed. Definitely not a lady. The innkeeper winked. We don't judge love here. Aaron guided me upstairs before I could sue anyone for emotional damages. The room was small, clean, and featured exactly 1 bed, wide enough to qualify as temptation. I stared at it. Absolutely not. You wanted to look convincing. I wanted plausible deniability, not proximity-induced cardiac events. He removed his armor, unbothered. We'll sleep back to back. That's what murderers say before stabbing their partners in their sleep. He gave me that infuriating calm smile. Then you'd better stay awake. Dinner was quiet. I pretended to study the map. He pretended not to notice me looking at him. The air between us was thick enough to bill for rent. When the candles burned low, I curled up on the far edge of the bed, glaring at the ceiling. If you cross the line, I'll sue. I warned. For what? Unconsented cuddling. He didn't answer. 10 minutes later, he was asleep, calm, composed, breathing evenly. And then came the worst discovery of the night. He snored. Not loudly, not obnoxiously, just attractively, like a tired hymn with good acoustics. I buried my face in the pillow. Great. My mortal enemy snores like a lullaby. I muttered. The system pinged faintly, cheerful as ever. System 44. Proximity threshold exceeded. Recording event as spousal immersion. I froze. Delete that log, I whispered. Aaron murmured, voice rough with sleep. Nothing, I said, too fast. He opened one eye. You're blushing. It's dawn lighting. Go back to sleep. He smiled, slow, sleepy, unfair. Good morning, spouse. I threw the pillow at his face. Divorce pending. He caught it easily. Filed and denied. Outside, bells rang, alarm, pursuit, chaos reborn. Inside, he was laughing, and I was already planning our next escape. If fate wanted us caught, it should have hired better writers. Chapter 6. The Ruined Temple of Truth. There are many bad ideas in the world, most of them mine. But walking into a temple literally called the Temple of Truth while hiding from divine law ranks somewhere near suing the gods, and sharing a bed with Aaron Salas. The structure loomed out of the mist like a guilty conscience. White stone cracked by time, vines twisting around angel statues that had lost their faces. The inscription over the arch read, "All lies burn clean here," promising. We could just not go in. Ignorance has worked fine so far. I suggested. Aaron gave me that patient look again. We need answers. The rumors said the inner sanctum reveals divine interference, or eats people who ask questions. He stepped forward anyway. Inside, the air shimmered like a courtroom mid-verdict, heavy, expectant. A vast mirror wall stretched across the hall, reflecting us both in eerie clarity. The floor glowed faintly under our boots, pulsing in rhythm with something that sounded suspiciously like a heartbeat. System 44 buzzed weakly in my mind. System. Caution. Temple rated C. For cognitive trauma. Proceed. Proceed, Aaron said aloud. Objection, I countered. System. Motion overruled. Traitor. Light spilled from the mirror. My reflection smiled. Not the tired smirk I was wearing, but the cruel grin of Prince Carson Vale, the villain who burned cities for fun. Around him, soldiers I'd once condemned to die materialized, their eyes hollow, their voices echoing through my skull. Commander, you left us. I didn't, I snapped, stepping back. Aaron's reflection appeared beside mine. Shining armor, perfect posture, the flawless savior who'd once driven his sword through my chest. His double turned to him and whispered, "You killed him because it was convenient." Aaron froze. That's not. The reflection smiled. Wasn't it? One death, one prophecy fulfilled. You didn't question it then. The temple was merciless. Every breath became evidence. Every word a cross-examination. I felt the old guilt crawl up my throat like smoke. My reflection reached for me, eyes burning with accusation. "You're not real," I hissed. "Oh, I'm as real as your denial." Then it lunged. Aaron reacted first, shoving me aside, drawing his blade. Metal clashed against phantom glass. I caught a glimpse of myself, my other self, sneering behind the mirrored cracks. He fought his reflection too, holy light meeting its own corruption. Every strike echoed through the chamber, each one a reminder of who we'd been forced to be. I grabbed a fallen staff and swung at my double. "I'm done being your puppet," I yelled. The mirror splintered, light scattering like verdict paper in a storm. My reflection screamed. My own voice, twisted. The illusion shattered into hundreds of shards, each one replaying a different moment. The war, the betrayal, the kiss I'd never admitted mattered. When it was over, silence hit like a gavel. Dust settled around us. Aaron was on one knee, breathing hard, his reflection dissolving into ash. I sank down beside him, shaking, adrenaline and shame colliding. "You all right?" he asked, voice rough. "No, but I'm still suing someone for this," I said honestly. His lips quirked, small, exhausted amusement. "You faced yourself. That takes courage. Don't sound so proud." I also insulted myself mid-fight. That tracks. Then the mirror flickered one last time. A final illusion, the two of us standing side by side, laughing like we'd known how. My chest tightened. "You ever think we were never meant to hate each other?" I murmured. He looked at me, really looked, past the sarcasm, through the ash. "Maybe we were meant to understand each other. Eventually." "Define eventually," I whispered. He didn't. Instead, he leaned in, slowly, cautiously, like someone crossing a line drawn by gods. And I, being predictably terrible at boundaries, met him halfway. The kiss wasn't perfect. Too hard, too sudden, too full of everything we weren't ready to say. But it was real. His fingers tangled in my collar, mine in his hair, the taste of divine dust between us. The temple trembled like it disapproved. System. Emotional escalation detected. Categorizing. Inadvisable. "Shut up," I gasped against Aaron's mouth. He pulled back just enough to smirk. "That was reckless." "Reckless is my brand. Don't make it weird," I said. "It's already weird." "Good. Then we're even." The last of the light faded. The mirror crumbled into dust, revealing a door behind it, carved with symbols neither of us recognized. At the center, the word rewrite. Aaron touched it. "Looks like the gods left us a message. Or a lawsuit. Either way, I'm not done." I stood, brushing ash off my sleeve. He glanced at me, eyes soft, unreadable. "Neither am I." We stepped through the doorway together, side by side, into whatever trial came next. And if our hands brushed once on the way out, I pretended not to notice. For now. Chapter 7. The Merchant, the Map, and the Almost Confession. The next morning I learned 3 things. 1. Divine hangovers are worse than mortal ones. 2. Aaron looks unfairly good in sunlight. 3. I hate both of those facts. We left the temple ruins with ash still in our hair and silence sitting between us like an unpaid bill. I was determined not to mention the kiss. He was determined not to mention that I hadn't run away afterward. Professional avoidance, our strongest shared skill. By noon, we reached a trade town tucked into the side of a mountain. Every alley smelled like spice, ink, and questionable ethics. Perfect place to find information or lose a wallet. That's where we met him, the merchant. Cloaked, grinning, voice like oil on glass. Looking for divine secrets, are we? Aaron stiffened instantly. Depends on who's asking. I'm merely offering. The merchant slid a scroll across the table. Map to the Canyon of Cinders. Inside it lies an artifact forged by the gods themselves. Retrieve it for me, and I'll tell you how to access the upper courts of heaven. I frowned. That sounds almost legal, which makes me suspicious. He grinned wider. Of course it's not legal. It's profitable. Aaron exhaled. What's the catch? Only one, the canyon kills everyone who enters. The man said. I nodded. Oh good. For a second I thought it might be dangerous. Aaron looked at me. You're not serious. I'm always serious about stupid ideas, and we need that map, I said. We shook on it. The merchant's rings clinked like warning bells. When we stepped outside, Aaron muttered, You know he's probably lying. Obviously, but I lie better, I said. The Canyon of Cinders lived up to its name. Rivers of molten rock, cliffs that sweated heat, air sharp enough to slice lungs. The map burned at the edges as we read it, which I took as a bad sign. This is fine, I said, climbing a ridge that felt like an oven rack. You say that every time things are not fine, Aaron replied. It's called optimism. Try it sometime. He gave me a look. Optimism doesn't mean walking into lava. Details, I muttered and kept climbing. Halfway up, the rock crumbled under my boot. I slipped, grabbed a ledge, and dangled over a glowing river of death. Aaron! He caught my wrist before gravity could make a case. His grip was solid, steady. For a second, I forgot about the heat. I just stared at the way his jaw clenched with effort, light flickering off his skin. Stop looking at me like that, he said through his teeth. Like what? Like you're memorizing me. I'm checking for liability issues, I said quickly. He hauled me up, muttering something suspiciously like, idiot. I dusted myself off. I almost died. A little gratitude would be nice. You're welcome, he said dryly. We kept going, arguing, slipping, saving each other's lives. By the time we reached the top, my lungs were smoke and my temper was molten. The artifact turned out to be a crystalline sphere floating over a pool of fire, humming like a heartbeat. Aaron reached for it cautiously. The air shimmered, divine runes lighting up around us. It's sealed with contract law ancient, he murmured. I grinned. Lucky for you, I have a minor in chaos. One badly worded invocation and a creative reinterpretation of ownership clause later, the barrier shattered. I caught the sphere before it could roll into the fire. Aaron stared. You just broke a divine contract. Broke is a strong word. I edited it. I said. Lin Chi. Too late. Evidence acquired, I said, tucking it into my pack. We climbed out as the canyon rumbled behind us, collapsing in protest. By the time we reached the cliff's edge, we were covered in soot and adrenaline. The sun was setting, orange, fierce, ridiculous. I dropped onto a rock, panting. So, teamwork rating, 8 out of 10. Needs less fire, more snacks, I said between breaths. He sat beside me, quiet, eyes fixed on the horizon. For once, he didn't lecture me about recklessness. Instead he said, When you fell earlier, I thought you were gone. You'd have to try harder to get rid of me? I said, trying for humor. Came out softer. He turned toward me. The light caught in his eyes like guilt and something dangerously close to affection. I don't want to. I froze. My brain, loyal traitor that it is, promptly forgot how to form words. He leaned a little closer, voice low. You keep making me forget which side I'm on. My heart decided to attempt escape through my ribs. I laughed too quickly. Maybe you're just bad with directions. He smiled. Barely. Maybe. For a moment the world shrank to heat, breath, and the distance between us, about one confession wide. I could have told him then that I trusted him, that I wanted to believe in us, whatever this was. Almost did. But the system chose that exact moment to beep. System 44. Warning. Heart rate exceeds narrative stability threshold. Recommend deflection. I sighed. You're saved by bureaucracy. He frowned. What? Nothing. Let's return the artifact before the canyon decides it wants it back, I said, standing. He followed, steps close behind. You were going to say something. Was I? He sighed. You're impossible. I grinned without looking back. You say that like it's news. The wind roared through the canyon below, carrying sparks and the smell of fire. I didn't look down, only forward, because if I looked at him again, I might have said everything I wasn't ready to admit. Almost. Chapter 8. Rain, fire, and regret. By the time we made it back from the lava canyon, the sky decided to punish us personally. Thunder rolled like divine laughter. The storm hit so fast it felt planned, which, given the God sense of humor, it probably was. We found shelter beneath a half-collapsed watchtower, the only thing still standing in a valley of mud and regret. Aaron started a fire with the kind of calm efficiency that makes you want to throw rocks at him. I sat nearby, wringing water out of my sleeves and pretending hypothermia was a fashion statement. He glanced at me. You're bleeding. I looked down. A gash cut across my shoulder, shallow, but messy, probably from that last fall off the ridge. It's fine. It's not, you're terrible at self-preservation, he said, already kneeling beside me, rummaging through his pack. Yeah, well, I'm not exactly built for heroism. He didn't argue. He just tore a strip of cloth, cleaned the wound, and pressed it to my skin. His fingers were steady, warm, too gentle for someone who used to be divine bureaucracy in human form. The storm raged outside, wind shrieking against stone, but all I could focus on was his hand on my shoulder, the press of his palm, the rhythm of his breathing. Stop staring, I muttered. I'm making sure it's clean. You're hovering. You're fidgeting. I'm allergic to intimacy. He smiled, soft and infuriating. Noted. Silence stretched between us, thick as the humidity. The firelight flickered against his face, shadows carving soft lines across sharp features. For someone allegedly celestial, he looked painfully human just then. You're not supposed to care, you're the hero. I'm the villain. There's a whole script about it. I said quietly. I stopped following the script a long time ago, right after you sued it, he said. I almost laughed, but something in his tone pinned me still. He was close enough that I could smell rain and steel and smoke. Close enough that one wrong breath might cross every line we'd drawn since the beginning. And because the universe enjoys ruining tension, that's when the system glitched. System 44. Alert. Detected abnormal emotional field between subjects Lin Chi and Aaron Salas. Calculating. Aaron froze. I did too. System 44. Romance probability 87%. Compatibility upgrade recommended. I stared at the invisible air where the voice echoed. You have got to be kidding me. Aaron blinked once, then twice, like he was deciding between disbelief and laughter. He chose laughter. It wasn't polite laughter either. It was full, helpless, echoing off the tower walls until I wanted to die of second-hand embarrassment. Stop laughing, I hissed. I can't. 87%? He managed between breaths. It's obviously a bug. Sure it is. He leaned back, smiling in a way that should have been illegal in several emotional jurisdictions. I threw a pebble at him. Shut up. Lin Chi, it's not that funny, he said softly. That's the problem, I said. Something flickered in his expression. Warmth, guilt, want, all tangled. The storm pressed harder against the walls, rain seeping through the cracks like it wanted to listen. He reached over and adjusted the bandage again, thumb brushing skin just above the cut. I swear the temperature spiked despite the downpour. "You're shaking," he murmured. "Adrenaline," I lied. "Liar." I looked up, and his eyes met mine, steady, dark, searching. For a second, the noise outside faded. There are moments when logic just quietly gives up and emotion files a hostile takeover. This was one of them. I kissed him. No preamble, no strategy, just instinct. It was clumsy, rain-slicked, too quick to qualify as romantic and too real to call a mistake. His lips were warm despite everything, and for one impossible heartbeat, the world didn't feel like it was falling apart. Then I pulled back, heart pounding like it wanted to flee my chest and start a new life. He blinked, stunned, rain dripping down his hair. That was a misfire. Static electricity happens in storms. I said instantly. Static electricity, interesting theory. He repeated slowly, fighting a smile. "Shut up." He didn't. He just laughed again. Quiet this time, almost fond. "You're ridiculous." "I know. You kissed me. Temporarily. I don't think that's how it works." I threw my cloak over my head and turned away. "If you tell anyone, I'll sue." He chuckled. "Who would I tell?" "The system." System 44. Recording event for emotional development log. "Delete that." I snapped. System 44. Error. Permission denied. Aaron laughed harder, and despite myself, I almost smiled too. The fire crackled. The rain softened. And for the first time in weeks, the air felt bearable. I sat there pretending to be annoyed while my heart replayed that stupid, perfect, impulsive second over and over. He leaned back against the wall beside me, quiet again, eyes on the flames. "Lin Chi," he called. "Yeah." That wasn't static. I didn't answer, couldn't. My throat had staged a rebellion. He smiled, small and devastating. "Just so you know." Outside, thunder rolled again. Softer this time, almost approving. I didn't kiss him again. Not that night. But I thought about it until the storm ended. Chapter 9. The City of Forgotten Gods. If regret had architecture, it would look exactly like the City of Forgotten Gods. Stone towers tilted at impossible angles, half swallowed by sand and time. Once golden murals peeled like burned paper. Every step echoed not sound but memory. You could feel the prayers that used to fill the air, like echoes that never got the memo about dying. "This is it," Aaron said quietly. His voice didn't carry. It just dissolved into the dust. I looked around at the wreckage. Lovely place, perfect for trauma and divine conspiracy. He didn't smile. His eyes were distant, tracking something I couldn't see. We'd been walking for hours, following the ghost of a map, when the ruins started reacting to us. Faint lights sparking under Aaron's boots, whispers curling through the wind. System 44. Warning. Localized divine residue detected. Recommend emotional stability. Emotional stability? Wrong protagonist, buddy, I said. Aaron stopped in front of a cracked monument. A giant stone relief depicting gods and mortals shaking hands. Half the figures were erased. His hands trembled. "I remember this." I turned toward him. "What do you mean, remember?" His expression went blank, then fractured. "Before I was sent to your world, before the narrative law division, I was born here." He pressed a hand to the wall. "This was the capital of the first pantheon. I was their oath keeper." I blinked. "So, the god's lawyer?" "Yes, I guess some habits don't die." He smiled faintly. The system chimed again. System 44. Memory restoration detected in subject Aaron Salas. Accessing restricted files. My own vision blurred. Images flashing across my mind. Battles, contracts, divine quills carving fates into stone. And me, or rather Carson Vale, standing beside a god, holding a scroll marked Reformation Project. I staggered. "Wait, I wasn't the villain." Aaron turned. "What?" I was made to be one. A test subject. They coded a villain, into the narrative to see if humans could reject divine morality. My voice cracked. He went pale. They rewrote you. No, they edited me, like a paragraph that didn't fit their sermon. I said bitterly. Before he could respond, the ground shook. A roar split the air, low, ancient, furious. The sand exploded upward, revealing a creature made of light and molten stone. Wings of broken script flared behind it, and its voice came out like burning law. Unauthorized entities detected. Purge initiated. Great. Even the security system's dramatic, I said. Aaron drew his blade, divine light flickering along its edge. Lin Chi, stay back. Not happening. I have unresolved anger issues and a vendetta against deities, I said, pulling a dagger from my belt. The guardian lunged. Fire poured across the ruins. I dodged, rolled, slashed. Each move instinctive, desperate. Aaron met the creature head-on, blade clashing against molten claws. Sparks burst like fireworks. Left, he shouted. I darted left, throwing a knife into a glowing joint. It embedded with a hiss. The creature shrieked, light fracturing. Aaron seized the moment, driving his sword into the crack. The explosion threw us both backward. I hit the ground hard enough to see static. When the dust cleared, the guardian was collapsing, light fading into smoke. We both sat there, breathing hard, surrounded by the ruin of gods and their forgotten promises. Blood trickled down my arm. His face was streaked with ash. Remind me why we keep surviving things that should kill us? I said, panting. He laughed softly, not amused, just alive. Because you refuse to die on anyone's terms but your own. That's probably accurate. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The wind carried the faint hum of dying magic. Then he said it so quiet I almost missed it. You make me want to defy heaven. The words hit harder than the explosion. I looked up, and for the first time his divine calm was gone. What replaced it was raw, human, terrifying. Aaron, I whispered, don't. He leaned closer. Too late. And then he kissed me. Not hesitant like before. Not careful. This one was fierce, desperate. The kind of kiss you give when the world is literally falling apart and you've decided to stop caring. His hands framed my face, rough and trembling. Mine clutched his collar like a lifeline. The ruins burned gold around us. Divine fire flickering back to life for one final encore. For a second, I thought maybe the universe approved. Then the system blared. System 44. Warning. Narrative instability approaching 99%. Emotional interference detected. We ignored it. For once, I didn't care about contracts or fate or divine surveillance. When we finally broke apart, the ruins were silent again. Aaron's forehead rested against mine, his breath uneven. Still think you're the villain? He murmured. I swallowed hard. I think I just became evidence. He smiled, tired but luminous. Then let's rewrite the verdict. Somewhere above us, thunder rumbled. Maybe divine rage, maybe applause. Hard to tell the difference anymore. Chapter 10. The contract fractures. If love were a lawsuit, this would be the part where the judge throws the case out for excessive emotional evidence. We left the city of forgotten gods still reeking of smoke and bad decisions. Aaron was quieter than usual, which was saying something. Then I noticed it. Faint golden lines cracking across the skin of his neck, pulsing like lightning under glass. What the hell is that? I asked. He looked away. The mark of contract. It's unraveling. Unraveling sounds temporary. He didn't answer, which meant it wasn't. Later, while we camped on a cliff that overlooked everything we'd already ruined, the light beneath his skin flared again. He doubled over, clutching his arm. Aaron! He breathed through his teeth. Heaven's calling me back. The law division wants to correct the narrative. I'm not supposed to be here anymore. Correct the narrative? What are you, a typo? I snapped. He smiled weakly. Probably. That was when I made a decision, terrible, impulsive, 100% me. Then we find the core. The thing controlling all this narrative crap. We go there and file a complaint in person. He laughed, even while grimacing. You're serious. I'm always serious when I'm panicking. System 44. Alert. Attempting cross-realm traversal may void existing warranties. File your warranties somewhere else, I hissed. And so we ran. Through half-burned realms, broken bridges of light, floating stairways held together by leftover divinity. The world kept falling apart behind us like a closing book. At one point, a portal collapsed mid-jump and dumped us into a storm full of shards. Reality glass, they called it. I remember grabbing his hand, yelling something like, "This is still your fault," while he shielded me with what was left of his divine energy. When we finally hit solid ground, both of us were bleeding, laughing, and maybe hysterical. He looked at me through the chaos, hair sticking to his face, blood at the corner of his mouth. You're insane. Technically litigious, insane's just the aesthetic. I corrected. He shook his head, half smiling. You could have left me and missed the opportunity to sue heaven for kidnapping? Never. He looked away then, voice low. When this ends, you'll forget me. That stopped me cold. What? The system will reset the narrative. You'll wake up back where you began. Without the edits. Without me. He said. Absolutely not. He met my eyes. You can't stop divine protocol, Lin Chi. Watch me. We kept moving through corridors of collapsing light, through broken code lines running across the sky like cracks in glass. He was fading faster now, glowing brighter, which made my chest hurt in ways I didn't approve of. At one point, we stopped beside a floating bridge made of pure script. I almost fell asleep standing. He touched my shoulder, light, careful, and too final. If I disappear, don't chase me, he murmured. If you disappear, I'll just file another motion, I said. His laugh came out tired. A motion for what? Continuance. Eternal. He smiled like that hurt worse than the light trying to pull him apart. Then the ground split again, and the core appeared. An orb of pure narrative energy, spinning at the center of nothing. Words and laws orbited it like stars. This is it. The heart of every story. Aaron whispered. I stared at it. Looks like a bad essay that achieved sentience. He chuckled, then grimaced as another crack spread across his arm. We can't destroy it, but maybe we can rewrite it. Then let's sue Destiny for breach of character development, I said, stepping forward. We reached for the core together. Light seared through everything. For a second I saw flashes, my death on the battlefield, his sword, the gods watching like jurors. All of it looping, scripted, fake. I yelled, "We reject the premise." The core pulsed violently. The system screamed warnings I couldn't hear. Then came the explosion. When I opened my eyes, we were floating in blank white. No sound, no sky, just him and me suspended in nothing. His glow was dimmer now, body almost translucent. You did it, he whispered. No, we did it. You're staying, I said, grabbing his collar. He smiled softly. You really are impossible. Good. That means I'm consistent. His hand lifted, fingertips brushing my cheek. Light as breath. Lin Chi, don't you dare finish that sentence. He laughed once, then looked straight at me. When this ends, don't forget to live. And then the light swallowed him. I screamed something. A name, a lawsuit, maybe both, and the world folded in. When I woke, I was lying on cold stone under a cracked sky. The core was gone. The system flickered above me like a dying neon sign. System 44. Refund request pending. My hands were empty. My chest wasn't. I stared at the silent heavens and said, horse, fine. If I have to sue Destiny twice, consider this notice served. Chapter 11. The Rift Between Worlds. The rift wasn't a place. It was a wound. A split in reality so deep you could see the stitching underneath. Sentences, threads of light, narrative code bleeding out into nothing. Aaron stood beside me, barely solid anymore. His outline flickered, like someone trying to delete him and failing halfway. So this is it, the cosmic recycling bin, I said. He gave me that calm, infuriating smile. The threshold where stories are rewritten. Romantic. Terrifying. Same thing. The wind coming from the rift wasn't air. It was words, half-formed and whispering. Every breath tasted like someone else's memory. System 44. Entry condition detected. To access the rift, each participant must sacrifice the thing they value most. Of course, because walking into existential hell wasn't dramatic enough. I said. Aaron looked at me. Lin Chi, what do you value most? Currently? The ability to complain. He didn't laugh this time. I thought about it. All the chaos we'd survived, all the almost kisses and actual ones. The late-night arguments about free will, the stupid way he always looked calm even when bleeding. I exhaled. My memories. His head snapped toward me. No. Yes, I'm the problem file in this story. If forgetting me resets the system, then fine. Clean slate, case closed. He shook his head. That's not a refund, that's erasure. Maybe I deserve it. He stepped closer, voice low. Then I'll offer mine. I blinked. You're what? My divinity. My connection to heaven. The part that keeps the balance. Aaron, that's suicide. Better me than you. We stared at each other. Two idiots, one contract, and a universe watching. The rift pulsed impatiently. The ground fractured beneath us. Light spilling upward like blood. Fine, we both give something. Meet in the middle, I said. He smiled faintly. That never ends well. I know. We stepped forward together. The moment we crossed the threshold, it felt like being pulled apart by every version of myself that ever existed. Memories shredded. Blood turned to script. My lungs filled with words I'd never written. Aaron's light collided with mine. His divinity unraveling. My humanity cracking open. For a second, we weren't separate at all. Just one impossible refusal written against the void. Then the rift screamed. We landed hard inside. If inside meant standing in a world made of ink and mirrors. Pages floated like ghosts. Sentences rearranged themselves when you looked too long. At the center stood something vast, faceless, and terrifyingly calm. Author entity detected. The system whispered. So this was it. The one who wrote everything. I squared my shoulders. Hey, you, plotter-in-chief. The thing turned toward me, shifting through shapes, God, human, blank page. You are anomalies, your rebellion endangers balance, it said. Balance is overrated. You turned people into tropes and called it destiny. I snapped. Aaron stepped beside me, voice steady even as his body flickered. Stories should grow, not repeat. The author raised a hand. The air solidified into chains of light, wrapping around him. I moved before thinking, slashing at the bindings. They burned my skin but snapped. Unauthorized intervention, the author intoned. Unauthorized existence, we're consistent. I shot back. It attacked again, waves of pure narration crashing down. Each impact rewrote the world. Battlefield, palace, courtroom, over and over. I could feel myself fragmenting into every version the story wanted me to be. Then Aaron's hand caught mine, steadying me. Remember, we decide who we are, he said. Right, let's file an appeal. I gasped. Together, we hurled everything we had. His divine light, my stubborn mortal defiance. The world cracked open. Pages burned. The author staggered, voice breaking into static. If you destroy me, all stories collapse. Good. Maybe we'll write better ones, I said. We struck one final time. Light swallowed everything. Silence followed, the kind that feels like a heartbeat waiting to start again. When I woke, we were on our knees in the ruins of the rift. The air was still, too still. Aaron's glow was almost gone. You okay? I asked, though I already knew. He smiled faintly. You always cross-examine heaven itself? Occupational habit. The system flickered above us. System 44. Unregistered narrative. Outcome undefined. Aaron reached for my hand, his touch barely there. Undefined sounds nice, he whispered. Yeah, for once, I said softly. The rift closed behind us like a final page turning. Chapter 12. The Last Trial. If fate were a courtroom, this would be the cross-examination. And the judge? Reality itself. Smug, tired, and about to throw us both out. The rift didn't stop collapsing after the fight. Kept mutating, rewriting itself like a story trying to prove it could still control us. Pages tore open around us, glowing scenes spilling out. Fragments of what could have been. The first one formed like a dream. A throne room, spotless, golden banners fluttering. Me, or rather another me, sat crowned, alive, victorious. The war won, kingdom mine. But the hall was empty. No laughter, no warmth. Just silence echoing in victory's shadow. That's one version. You survive everything. Alone. Aaron murmured beside me. The image flickered. Then another scene slammed into being. Battlefield smoke, the air heavy with grief. He stood over me, sword dripping, eyes red. My corpse sprawled at his feet. Version 2, tragic classic. Fan favorite. I said hoarsely. Aaron looked away. I hate this one. The rift shuddered again. The third vision bloomed, soft light, an ordinary village. Both of us walking past each other like strangers. No war, no destiny, no spark. Just two unremarkable men living separate, quiet lives. That one hurts the most, I muttered. He nodded. The story without the story. Around us, the rift howled, demanding a verdict. System 44. Final trial initiated. Selected outcome will determine narrative continuity. Aaron turned to me, light dimming around his eyes. You know what it's asking? Yeah. It wants us to choose who gets erased, I said. He hesitated. Lin Chi. Don't. If you're about to say something noble and self-sacrificing, I swear I'll sue you in triplicate. I stepped closer. He actually smiled. Still defiant. It's my brand. Lightning split the rift, tearing through the visions. Each one flickered faster, the versions of us overlapping, merging, fighting for dominance. In one, we were enemies again. In another, we kissed beneath a ruined temple. In another still, I died before ever meeting him. My chest ached with the weight of all those almosts. You ever think we were supposed to lose? I asked. He glanced at me. Maybe, but we didn't. The world cracked open beneath our feet. The system's voice went haywire. System 44. Alert. Narrative loop collapse. Select path immediately. I looked at the three visions again. Power, tragedy, nothingness. And then I looked at him, bleeding light, smiling like the idiot who chose to love a villain out of habit. I choose the one where we walk together, I said. He froze. That one doesn't exist. Then we'll make it. The rift screamed, rejecting the logic. Everything went white-hot. The world disintegrated into ink and fire. I reached for him as gravity died. The system stuttered. System 44. Error. Multiple outcomes detected. Insufficient data to compute. Then it crashed. Silence. Light. And him. Aaron was in front of me, glowing faintly amid the destruction. Eyes filled with something too human for a divine lawyer. You just broke the narrative, he said quietly. Good. It was boring, I said. The rift collapsed around us, chunks of reality dissolving into brilliant dust. Wind whipped our hair. Burning pages flew past like snow. He reached out, fingers trembling. If this is the end. It's not. It's a rewrite. I stepped forward, closing the distance. Then how do you want to start it? He asked. Like this? I said, and kissed him. It wasn't neat or careful. It was desperate. A collision of breath and fire. All the words we never had time to say turned into one reckless, final act of defiance. The world fell apart around us, but it felt like we were holding it together. For a second, I swore the universe hesitated, watching, maybe confused that we were still choosing each other. The light brightened, burning everything away. The rift, the echoes, the gods' fingerprints. Just us. When we finally broke apart, I was crying without realizing it. His forehead rested against mine. If we survive this, we'll have to make new laws, he said softly. Good. First one. No divine interference in romance. I whispered. He laughed, the sound swallowed by collapsing reality. The last thing I felt was his hand in mine and the world rewriting itself around our heartbeat. Chapter 13. When the world stopped spinning. When the world finally stopped spinning, it wasn't quiet. It groaned, like a god waking up hungover after centuries of bad decisions. I opened my eyes to gray sky and dust. No rift, no gods, no system voice narrating my imminent demise. Just silence, and the faint, stubborn rhythm of my own heartbeat. Aaron, I called. He was lying a few feet away, half buried under broken light. Still glowing, but faint, the kind of faint that feels like goodbye. I crawled to him, ignoring the pain screaming through every mortal nerve I owned. Hey, hero, get up. We didn't just win a cosmic lawsuit for you to nap through the ending. He smiled soft, weak. You never stop arguing, do you? It's my coping mechanism. The ground trembled again, fissures spreading through what was left of the world. The sky above us was unraveling, threads of reality peeling apart like torn fabric. I grabbed his arm, hauling him up. Come on, we're leaving before creation decides to self-destruct, I said. He didn't move. His body was turning translucent, light leaking from his skin. Aaron, I don't think I can. My power's gone. The world's resetting. I'm not built to exist in it anymore. He whispered. Too bad. I didn't sign off on your dramatic exit. I snapped, pulling harder. He laughed. Tired, beautiful. Lin Chi, the contract's void. I'll rewrite it. Of course you will. We staggered through the ruins. Me dragging, him stumbling, the world collapsing around us. Mountains cracked. Rivers boiled into starlight. Cities dissolved into code. System 44. Notice. Reboot in progress. Please back up your souls. I yelled into the air. Don't you dare touch mine. Aaron chuckled, leaning against me. You're fighting a reboot? I fought worse. Group projects, for example. He smiled, but his steps were slowing. Each time I blinked, he flickered, less solid, less here. We reached a ridge overlooking what used to be kingdoms. Now nothing but light and smoke. The wind was warm, gentle, final. He sank to his knees, fingers trailing through the air like he could still touch the world he defended. It's quiet, he murmured. Too quiet. I hate it. He looked up at me, that same calm expression that had infuriated me since day one. You saved it. No, we did, I said, voice cracking. He laughed softly, eyes half-lidded. You finally earned your refund. My throat closed. Don't say that. You did. You sued destiny and won. His voice was barely audible. Then stay and help me file the paperwork. He smiled again, tired but real. Lin Chi. Don't. His hand reached up, brushing my cheek. It was warm for a second, then light, then gone. The wind carried his last words. Not divine, not heroic, just human. Thank you. And then he disappeared. I stayed there, kneeling in the ruins, staring at the spot where he'd been. The world kept healing itself around me, threads of new creation weaving over old scars. Birds, real or metaphorical, who knows, started singing somewhere distant. I laughed, because crying hurt too much. You absolute bastard, you still owe me coffee. I whispered. The system flickered overhead, glitchy but persistent. System 44. Refund processed. Case status. Closed. I looked up. Closed? Oh no, we're appealing this one. System 44. Warning. Excessive emotional activity detected. Yeah, well, add it to my file. I said, standing. The ground steadied. The sky stitched itself back together. The world rebooted, clean and bright, except for the hollow ache in my chest. I started walking because standing still felt like betrayal. Each step felt borrowed, each breath stolen. But that's what living was, wasn't it? Theft, defiance, a refusal to let the story end neatly. If you're listening, I'm still not done suing you. The wind answered softly, almost like a voice saying good. And I smiled, shaky, tired, furious, alive. Chapter 14. 1 year later. Quiet wars. Peace is overrated. That's the first thing I learned after the gods disappeared and left me to mop up the divine mess. No wars, no monsters, no celestial lawsuits. Just mountains of paperwork and nobles arguing about crop taxes. I saved the world only to be buried alive under bureaucracy. Everyone calls me a hero now. The irony could choke me. They built a statue of me in the new capital, tall, dramatic, completely inaccurate. I told them to melt it down and build irrigation canals instead. They refused. So I vandalized it myself with a chisel. The press called it a humble act of the redeemed prince. I call it community service. 1 year. That's how long it's been since the rift collapsed. Since Aaron vanished in my arms. All light and last words. The world moved on. I rebuilt what I could. Bridges, roads, peace treaties, and occasionally my sanity. But some nights, when the sky hums too quietly, I still talk to him. Hey, Salas. I'll mutter at the wind while flipping through scrolls. If you're out there, you still owe me 5 cups of coffee and 1 apology. Sometimes the breeze answers. Probably just my imagination. Or divine mockery. Either fits. System 44 occasionally flickers back to life, glitching in my study like a ghostly intern. System 44. Emotional check-in. Status. Melancholic productivity. System 44. Recommendation. Sleep. Denied. Heroes don't get time off. I always reply. System 44. You're not a hero. Finally, someone gets it. Peace is quiet, but my mind isn't. Every rebuilt wall reminds me of the one who helped me tear the old ones down. Every dawn reminds me of the man who said thank you and disappeared like mist. Tonight's no different. The council's gone, the fires are out, and I'm sitting on the castle balcony with a half-empty cup of something too strong to be tea. Rain clouds hover over the horizon. Dramatic, as usual. I lean back and sigh. You'd hate this weather, I tell the air. Actually, says a familiar voice behind me. I think it suits you. I freeze. The cup slips from my hand and shatters. I turn. He's standing there. Aaron Salas. Not glowing, not divine, just human. Simple tunic, tousled hair. That same infuriating calm. Alive. Missed me? He says, smiling like a sunrise that knows it's late. For 3 full seconds, I forget how to breathe. Then I remember how to punch. My fist connects with his shoulder. You unbelievable. Another punch. Self-sacrificing. Another. Cosmic idiot. He just laughs, catching my wrist before the 4th swing. You're crying. I'm angry. I snap, wiping my face with the back of my hand. You're both, he murmurs. I hate that he's right. I hate that his hand is warm. I hate that I can feel my heart pounding like it's filing a new case against me. He steps closer, hesitates. You rebuilt everything. Someone had to. You left a lot of divine paperwork. I say, I knew you'd handle it. Don't flatter me, you celestial tax evader. He laughs again, soft, human this time. It's strange. I can feel the wind, the ground, pain, hunger. I think I'm mortal. I study him, the faint scars, the warmth in his eyes. Welcome to the club. No refunds. He grins. That's fine. I'm here for the long contract. That line shouldn't make my chest ache. But it does. I stare at him for a long moment, a dozen sarcastic comebacks dying in my throat. Then I grab him by the collar and kiss him. It's not cinematic. It's desperate, messy, and very real. His hand slides to the back of my neck, steadying me like he's afraid I'll vanish this time. I can taste the rain, the dust, and a year's worth of unsaid words. When we finally pull apart, I mutter, that was for making me wait. And the punch? For dramatic balance. He laughs, and it's the best sound I've heard since the world stopped spinning. We stand there in the half-light, 2 idiots who broke destiny and are now stuck figuring out rent, taxes, and maybe love. System 44. Alert. Unauthorized entity detected. System 44. Identified. Aaron Salas. Status. Reinstated. Mortal class. System 44. Note. Ship confirmed. I groan. Even death couldn't shut you up, System. System 44. Welcome back. Try not to destroy reality again. Aaron chuckles. No promises. The rain starts. He looks up at the sky, eyes soft. Feels like home. Yeah, welcome back, partner. I whisper, leaning against him. He smirks. Missed me? Shut up, I say, and kiss him again. Kiss number 7. Worth the lawsuit. Chapter 15. Refund approved. Peace looks different when you've survived 3 divine lawsuits and a metaphysical apocalypse. It looks like a chipped sign swinging above a narrow street in the new capital. Vale and Salas, specialists in impossible cases. We're not saints. We're barely professionals. But we get things done. The front office smells faintly of ink, parchment, and Aaron's terrible attempts at coffee. A cracked hourglass sits on the desk, trophy of the Rift War, now repurposed as a paperweight. Beside it, the system orb flickers like a lazy star, humming faintly, still alive after everything. My mornings begin the same way. Open the shutters, curse the sun, and check the inbox for chaos. Today's docket. 1 case of cursed chickens, 1 landlord sued for summoning minor demons to collect rent, and 1 royal petition labeled urgent. Narrative breach suspected. So, just another Monday. Aaron's already at his desk, quill in hand, pretending to read through a stack of case files while obviously daydreaming. He looks up as I walk in. You're late, he says, smiling like he knows I hate punctuality more than divine intervention. I was buying breakfast. You're welcome, I reply, tossing him a bag of pastries. He catches it effortlessly. Bribery won't excuse tardiness. Neither will that coffee you're murdering. I peer into his mug. It's blacker than my reputation used to be. What even is that? Experimental brew. Smells like divine punishment. He shrugs. Want a sip? Absolutely not. He grins, infuriatingly serene, mortal now, yet still capable of weaponizing charm. He goes back to pretending he's working while I drop into my chair and pull out today's contracts. The system flickers suddenly, projecting a faint message across the desk. System 44. Update complete. System 44. New mode. Civil operational support. I squint. You rebooted yourself into a legal assistant? System 44. Promotion. I deserve a raise. Aaron chuckles. Do assistants get paid here? Not if they sass their employers. System 44. Objection. Unfair labor practice. I pinch the bridge of my nose. I survived divine judgment for this? Aaron leans back, watching me with that soft, knowing smile that still makes my chest ache. You love it. Love is a strong word. So sue me. I glance up, ready to retort, but his expression, calm, teasing warm, hits harder than it should. He's human now, fragile in a way he never was before, and still somehow radiant. Don't tempt me, I murmur. He takes that as an invitation. Of course he does. Before I can protest, he's beside me, reaching for my mug and stealing a sip. Hey, that's mine, I snap. He raises an eyebrow. Possession is 9/10 of the law, and the other 10th is me suing you for emotional damages. He steps closer, voice low. You'd lose. Try me. His answer is a kiss, quick, smug, perfectly timed to shut me up. My brain short-circuits for exactly 5 seconds before I shove him lightly. Unprofessional conduct in the workplace. File a complaint. I reach for a quill. Gladly. He grins and steals the quill too. And just like that, the office, once quiet, sterile, filled with divine echoes, feels alive again. Not with miracles or fate, but with something smaller, messier, real. System 44. New case file created. Lin QI versus Celeste. EREN. Charge: theft of coffee. Dismissed. I say immediately. System: 44. Case closed. Love successfully renegotiated. I blink. Did it just? Aaron's laughter fills the room, low and genuine. Let it have the last word. No chance, I say, but I'm smiling too. Outside, the city hums with the sound of rebuilding. Merchants shouting, bells ringing, life continuing. A year ago, this place was ash and ruin. Now it's chaos, beauty, noise, hope. Aaron leans against the window, sunlight spilling across his hair. You ever think we actually won? Won? We broke half of heaven and got demoted to lawyers. You call that winning? I repeat. Yes, because you're here, he says softly. For once, I don't argue. I sip what's left of my coffee, bitter, imperfect. Exactly right. All right, counselor. I say finally. Let's go save someone else's story. He smiles. Together. Don't push it. Still, when he takes my hand, I don't pull away. System: 44. Case log updated. Partnership status: permanent. I roll my eyes. You're fired. System: 44. Denied. Aaron laughs, stealing another kiss before I can protest. Case dismissed. Case dismissed. I say against his lips. And just like that, the world finally feels settled, not perfect, not divine, but ours.